I mean, I'm looking at the list right now of movies and how much money they made. And I'm saying that no matter your claim that Shazam was a good movie, it was not. Defend yourself.
What? Shazam's not. It was good. What are you talking about? What's the thing?
It's the third lowest superhero grossing movie of all time.
The first Shazam?
Yes. Third lowest. Oh, wait. Fourth. We're about to talk about Kraven.
Shazam wasn't that bad.
Well, welcome to Capes, Cowls, and Conversations. Cameron had to hold that in. I'm Tim Neal. This is my son Cameron, and we are going to talk comic books, comic movies, comic TV shows, all things comic adjacent. Except today is movie review day because we went to see Kraven the Hunter on opening night, Thursday night. And it was everything we've come to know and love from Sony, and not everything I hoped it would be from watching the first 8 minutes. Your take.
No one loved, huh? Okay. Okay, so I'll talk about what I think it was okay. In some areas, like, are we doing the spoiler part or the non-spoiler?
Let's start with 5 minutes. Let's give it 5 minutes from now of spoiler free, and just know that in 5 minutes we're gonna spoil this awful movie because really you want us to spoil it so you don't waste the money. Okay, go.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some parts that are decent for a lot of Kraven's family moments. And then outside of that, the action's pretty decent. But I mean, it's everything else you've expected. I mean,
literally the only thing that I liked about the entire movie was the fighting choreography. I thought they did a great job with the fighting.
There's some good drama elements. There's also some good jokes, but I think for me, a lot of the problem is it's still plagued by like bad ADR due to reshoots, which are not even reshoots because they didn't go back on set and reshoot. They literally just put them in a studio and re-recorded lines.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, it's very clear on the screen. Their mouth isn't moving when the audio is playing, or their mouth is moving something different than what the audio is saying. So it wasn't a reshoot.
No, they literally just went back and over the audio. So
I mean, if you're watching 1970s kung fu films and you enjoy that, you might enjoy some of the things going on the screen with.
But even in those kung fu films, sometimes the people editing it would know how to make it sound good. In this, it's like watching Madam Web again. Like there's some just lines that sound awful.
Well, it definitely affected the main female character's presence on the screen, in my opinion. Just watching her with the way that she sounded, the sound made her acting look terrible.
Oh yeah,
because the sound did not match what you would expect with the acting on the screen. And so for me, that was a very big turnoff. I think when we walked out, my first initial reaction was, she's the worst actress I've ever seen. And then we talked about ADR, and I'm like, okay, wait, that makes sense. Maybe her acting wasn't so bad as she sounded awful compared to her presence on the screen.
She sounded like
she was sitting in a booth.
Well, I was gonna say she does sound like that, but like because we were in IMAX, right? The sound is insane, like compared to other movies in other theaters. So the entire time you're hearing everyone else sound pretty good, and it sounds like you're in the room with them, and then it sounds like she's just speaking and yelling into the mic. It sounds like this. Like, hi, I'm right up next to the mic, and everyone else is like speaking like this.
With a boom mic over the top of their head, catching their audio. Yeah, that's 100% right. That's 100% right. And I think that really changed for me it just made it hard to watch her. I didn't enjoy it. I thought she was a terrible actress, and maybe she's not. Maybe the audio is just so messed up that you look at her and you're like, man, she's doing a bad job.
That's how I
But
felt
it's
about
probably just the audio.
That's how I felt about Ezekiel Sims the entire time watching Madam Web. Is all of his lines are redubbed, every single one. And so I'm just like, he sucks. Like at first I didn't notice it, and then I went back and watched it again. Like, no, he literally had to re-record every single freaking line that they had for him.
And the weird look I'm giving you is because you just said you rewatched Madam Web. Like, why would you waste the time?
Oh, no, you're missing. I watched it in theaters, and then I watched it with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew better than to spend money on it in theaters. The only reason that we did Kraven, well, two reasons we did Kraven is one, we're going to start doing movie reviews for this podcast. And two, because I watched the first 8 minutes with that fight scene and I was like, this has potential to be really good, because you have to admit, not spoiling anything for another minute, you have to admit the fight scene was really good.
Oh yeah, almost every single fight scene looked really good.
So I just was very hopeful. I was hoping against hope that Sony finally figured it out and did it right. Honestly, I listened to the director. The director said, "Look, I'm so grateful that I was able to get a rated R rating so that I could make the true kind of origin story for a villain that I needed to make."
We'll get into that in a minute whenever we get to the spoiler part.
Okay.
But
Ladies and gentlemen, real quick. Okay, say what you're going to say.
But I was to say, it's funny because everyone was like, we need Venom to be rated R. It should have been rated R. It would have made it better because he bites people's heads off, right? Like that's part of the movie.
Okay.
But here, I don't know why it was. I really don't know why it was rated R, other than he really just wanted like graphic violence.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. Okay. If you are enjoying the podcast so far, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. We are going to continue talking about Kraven the Hunter for as long as it takes us to tell you how bad this movie was. But this is the end of spoiler free. So if you want to go see it, if you want to blow your money, and you want to be surprised by what you see, then now is probably the time to stop listening and come back later. One last chance here. This is the end of spoiler free. We are going to talk spoilers from this point forward. So turn it off if you're really going to go see this disaster of a film. Okay. We gave him 8 minutes of spoiler free. Let's go.
All right. Well, so let's talk about that opening, because I think the opening was actually pretty good.
The opening was good. The prison scene, the whole prison scene was good. The guy that he got bunked with was hilarious.
I think I wanted more though of that scene because he tells the guy 3 days, and then it doesn't even take him 3 days.
It takes him one.
Yeah, I'm like, I kind of wanted to see it pay off. See him in the prison just a little bit longer.
Yeah, you were looking for your Oliver Queen moment there.
I don't think I wanted it to be, I definitely didn't want it to be a season worth of prison, but I did at least want to see just a couple of different things. I didn't want to see a prison reform arc either. I just wanted to see just a little bit more badassery in the prison.
Yeah.
But then, that's like, what was it? Was like literally 8 minutes. That was it. It was like
8 minutes, and then he's out of the prison.
8 to 10 minutes. And then oh my God, the next 20 to 30. I actually think
the next 30 minutes.
I think it's shorter than that. I actually think it just felt long.
You think it felt like 30 minutes? Here's what I know. For the next what I think was 30 minutes, I was constantly having to wake myself up because I was falling asleep. It was that bad.
I think it was like 20. I think it was like 15 to 20 minutes in real time, but it was so slow.
That slog was terrible.
I don't know I don't know why they needed to do the entire flashback for 20 minutes.
Right.
Why didn't they space that out in the film? They had plenty of time. They could have, and they had plenty of times where the characters like get knocked out or something happens, and
they could have flashed to it. Yes.
Arrow did it all the time. Why are we against doing that all of a sudden? Why does it have to shove it all in there and be like, even Guardians Volume 3 did that so well.
Or if you're gonna do it, start with the flashback.
Right.
Guardians Volume 1, start when he's 6 years old or whatever.
Yeah. No. We spend 20 minutes in a flashback, and I don't think it's all bad. It actually is set up pretty good, but then there is scripting issues.
But it was such a slog.
It was a slog. But then it comes to what's in those 20 minutes. I don't mind what's happening with the brothers. The brothers actually have great chemistry. The younger version of the brothers have good chemistry. And even with their father, they have you can tell the family dynamic pretty quickly.
I will say I was surprised that I enjoyed Russell Crowe's performance as much as I did.
Yeah, the performances are pretty good. Up until Calypso shows up for the first time as a kid. And then the grandmother calls her by name like 8 times in the same sequence.
They want to make sure you know it's Calypso in case you might forget. They want you to know this is Calypso. We're going to call her Calypso over and over and over again because that's how your grandparents talk to you.
Oh my. And then, they didn't even like tell you that it was her grandma until like halfway through the film.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And then the child's acting, the one playing the younger version of Calypso actually was fine. I didn't mind her. She was doing fine for
she was fine.
For a child actress, she was doing pretty good. But then they do the lion bite. You know, he gets bit, and that everything up to that point is pretty good. And then right after that, when he leaves, they transition his teenage to adult years almost as sloppily as Aquaman. Like, that's one of the things I like Aquaman. I do.
Wow.
But young Aquaman sucks. Like, that's like the worst part of that movie is teenage Aquaman's acting. He is awful. Like, his acting is on another level.
You think Kraven was as sloppy as that, huh?
Yeah, that was sloppy. That was literally like, it jumps to him. Like, I can't even tell how long he was there. That's how bad it is. Right? Because he goes when he's a teenager and you're supposed to see him progressively age up, I guess. But he looks exactly the same for a while, and then it just jumps to present day. And I'm like,
yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right.
I'm like, what the? And then when it jumps to present day, I'm actually like, it feels like I was watching a different movie. Like it's like I woke up and like, what did I just watch? It was so slow. And then I thought we were gonna get to know the pilot too, but I guess not. I guess you're just supposed to know who that is from the comics, and I don't even care to explain it because the movie didn't care to explain it. So I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to.
Well, and that's part of the problem, right?
Yep.
The movie went out of its way to over explain certain characters
and then under explain
and then not explain other characters at all.
Yeah. I did like that this movie uses, because some people literally forget that Chameleon and Kraven are brothers. That's something that people forget about.
See, I actually didn't know that till you told me after the movie. Yeah. I just thought that was something Sony was trying to shoehorn in.
No, they're actually legitimately brothers in the comics.
And I will say this, the special effect, the CGI of Chameleon for the one time you see it was actually pretty cool.
It was, but it was clearly sequel bait. There's so much sequel bait.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was so cool. Like, okay, I could see the movie with him and them making him do some cool stuff. And he was a good actor. And then they come out before the movie ever comes out and says, we're not doing anything with this.
Yeah.
Well, great. Why are we bringing in all these references to people and then setting up a one-time shot of Chameleon that was awesome?
And I think it's funny because he's like, I'm showing you how the origin of how a villain works. But then like the only 2 scenes where you show that is just kind of over explaining how Kraven becomes obsessed with the serum that gives him his abilities in the comics.
Okay. To be clear, this is the origin story of a villain. However, there's nothing villainous about him at all.
Nope.
And he's he's truly not even really an anti-hero in the sense of anti-hero. He is a hero that kills. But I'm not sure that he's an anti-hero. It's actually a Kraven hero story. He's a good guy.
It is Arrow season 1, Kraven edition.
It is Arrow season 1, Kraven edition. That is 100% accurate. Oliver was killing people, but he was the good guy.
Yeah.
Kraven was killing people, but he was the good guy.
He literally goes and
there's nothing about it. There's nothing about it that goes, this guy is going to turn out to be a villain. In fact, I was just waiting for him to walk up to, his dad or the guy who played Rhino and be like, "You have failed this city."
Honestly, it just feels like they took all of 5 seasons of Arrow and just condensed it down to a movie.
You have failed this safari.
But then did it worse. It's just rough. Like, I don't know what else to, like, because my biggest issue is that they did say it was supposed to be him getting into a villain arc eventually, but like one of the biggest issues with that is that you don't have enough time in this movie to introduce his obsession with becoming powerful because you spent too long making him the good guy. No. I mean, you literally have his brother get kidnapped and you have to go and get him. Like,
he has to save his brother. He's the good guy.
He's not,
and he ends up fighting actual villains. So it's not like he was fighting good people. And by the way, I know you're going to say one of the worst parts of this movie was the Rhino.
It was.
But the Rhino, the mutant version of Rhino is the best version of Rhino. That version of Rhino was nearly awesome. So
I actually agree with the comment that I read after the movie. And the comment was, my ideal version, this guy's ideal version of Rhino is not a guy in a mech suit. And it took me just reading this to go, I don't hate this, but it's not a guy in a mech suit and it's not a mutated rhino. It's Juggernaut in a rhinoceros themed outfit. Basically. Comic book Juggernaut.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but
a really big dude in a suit that looks similar to and honestly.
So you need a guy who goes, "You cannot stop the Rhino."
That's what he does. That's his thing. He is basically. I mean, other than that, he's not related to a character in Spider-Man that way.
I like better the mutated version of him. I know they've overdone that because they did it with Sandman, and they did it with Electro.
But those two were already like that.
I know. I understand what you're saying. But for me, that makes the most sense with the Rhino, that he can't control being the Rhino and he becomes an uncontrollable villain.
See, but that was only introduced so that, because I think what they were doing, right? They were sequel baiting a lot. And there's a lot.
They totally were
there
sequel
was
baiting.
A lot of villains in this movie because it's like I said when I came out of the theater, I feel like this was their final attempt to try to shove any and every Spider-Man villain they could think of into one movie and then have a through line through Miles Warren to say, this is how these guys got created. So when they go to make sequels, Miles Warren is eventually the main bad guy who's mutating other people into.
Yeah, I mean, that could have possibly worked too. It doesn't help when you release a movie with potential and you come out before it comes out and say, "Oh, we're not doing anything with this movie. It's the end."
Or like not that even hurts. Just this movie, just the universe itself.
But like this, not just that, but then to have the ADR problems and to have the horrible character development of some of the characters.
Calypso gets weird screen time because she doesn't have enough time to develop as a character. She just kind of changes her mind way too fast. Like they didn't give her a chance to really decide to work with Kraven. She just gets forced into it because he walks into her office after propositioning her, walks into her office and goes, "My brother's been taken. You have to help me."
Yes.
She barely gets any time to make that decision. She just goes, "Okay, I'll help you."
Well, no, she actually said, "I told you I'd think about it."
Yeah, well, she does do that. But
well, I don't know if she actually says it, but the voice in the speaker actually says it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I told you I'd think about it.
I told you. Yeah.
My brother's been taken. Okay, I'll help you.
So bad. It's so awful.
I did see two people on the screen when I heard the words. I'm not sure I saw their mouths move.
I
but
know
I did see
Kraven-
them on the screen.
I know Kraven for most of his lines was speaking exactly what he was saying, but there was a couple where he just like you could tell that he didn't say anything. Like for instance, he's almost getting blown up by missiles, and then he just straight up does not open his mouth, but he's like, "Oh shit!" And it's like, oh, okay. When did you?
They were giving you thought bubbles like comics do. Sony's trying a new concept called thought bubbles.
No, not new because they're doing Zack Snyder's. We're gonna speak the spot, the thought bubbles from The Watchmen. Oh my god, I'll take any chance. To
So
crap
bad.
on him. Yeah,
It was so bad, and this is how bad it was. A review title. I didn't even read this review. I just read the title, and it says, "I'm frustrated by how much Aaron Taylor Johnson's Marvel superhero movie squanders its potential." I could not agree more.
Oh yeah,
Squanders so much potential. You're right. There were so many villains. I didn't even know one of the villains. The guy who
the foreigner. Yeah.
What is he? It just seems like he would almost hypnotize people, and then he would kind of halfway disappear. And I don't know if his disappearance was the fact that they were getting hypnotized and not actually seeing him there, or if he was actually disappearing as he spoke. His power wasn't really clear.
So, because I remembered off the top of my head that he worked with Silver Sable, and he was married to her for a time. But what? Oh.
So, but you should know what his power is.
Well, he knows martial arts. I'm trying to remember.
I mean, his fighting was good, but it seemed like his fighting was good because he would say 1, 2, and by the time he said 3, the other person didn't know where he was anymore. Like he vanished, but he didn't vanish. He just vanished to them.
So from what I'm reading, because it's been a while, but his main ability is to hypnotize people for a very short brief time.
Yeah, so that's what it is. 1, 2, 3 is the hypnosis, and
But-
then once he says 3, they wake up. But he's had time to move.
He uses it effectively. I like the effect, and I do think it's cool.
The effect was cool.
But they didn't explain it.
Not at all. Nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah, when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, I know who that is to a degree. Like that's cool. That they did that, but like, are you not gonna like? It would be like if you introduced Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and then just didn't tell people what their powers were, and they just like especially for Scarlet Witch, like she just uses her abilities, and you're just like, how did she do that?
Yeah, so what is her ability?
Yeah, like she messes with people's minds, and also she can lift things. What's her powers again? Like, but at least the movie goes out of its way to explain it. Here, they just have an effect. They kind of like tease it, but they don't tell you.
It wasn't clear if it was hypnosis or if he was disappearing himself and reappearing somewhere else.
Or super speed or whatever.
Yeah,
they just did not tell you.
It wasn't clear. It was weird. So...
but I didn't hate it. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay.
Seeing it on the screen was cool. I agree with you.
He also would have made for a great, he did make for a great scarecrow-like sequence.
Yes.
With Kraven.
Yes, when he hit him with the
dart.
With the dart.
Yeah, that was a really cool effect.
I think he hit him with 3 darts.
He hit him with 3. He hit 2 in the chest and 1 on the side. And then he gets like covered with spiders. I don't really know why spiders though. Like,
so it said this would induce your greatest fear. And so apparently spiders were his greatest fear as a way to say, he's going to one day go after a Spider-Man.
I'm so tired.
I mean, that's what it was foreshadowing. It was foreshadowing and sequel baiting. But
there was never even a guarantee that Spider-Man would ever appear.
No,
in any of these movies.
No, never.
So Silver and Black got canceled too. By the way,
everything got canceled
except for one. There's only one project still going. That's Spider-Man Noir, but that's because they've almost finished it and it's going to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I mean that's different.
So, well, it's made by the same people.
That being said, I said earlier Shazam because you've been big on Shazam. You love that movie for whatever god awful reason.
It's a fun movie. It's
terrible movie.
It's big with superpowers.
So the 5 worst grossing movies grossing
Yeah.
movies.
Should be
of all time.
Should be Sony movies.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Not shocked. People didn't like it.
You know what? Now that you mention that, now I want to know where Madam Web falls on this list.
It did pretty poorly. It was like 43 million.
I'm actually not seeing it on this list, which makes me think they didn't update it.
I don't know that it was counted as a superhero movie.
That is a fair statement. They may not have counted it as a superhero.
It was
movie.
more like a thriller in the style of Spider-Man than it was an actual comic book superhero movie. Which is why I think it underperformed more than it probably should have. Because I didn't think it was that bad. I like, just in the sense of watching it without, like, if you didn't make any Spider-Man connections to it whatsoever, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen or ever seen. Wow. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It just seemed like a CW, like a cheap CW thriller. And I didn't hate it at first until I rewatched it and then, noticed all the ADR issues. Then I hated it. But my initial watch was just like, oh, this is kind of just a fun thriller set in the world of Spider-Man. Like, it's not great. I don't love it, but I don't think it's the worst movie ever.
Well, it's opening weekend.
Yeah,
It's going to be $10 to $12 million.
Yeah,
which would place it lower than Madam Web, which made 15 million.
Oh God.
And Morbius, which made 39 million. These are two of the worst superhero movies ever made by anyone.
Honestly,
And guess what? They're both made by Sony. This is why I have no faith in Sony whatsoever.
I think it'd be absolutely hilarious if we could get so do you remember what happened with Morbius?
It's Morbin time.
Yes, but yes. And so basically what happened is, right, the movie came out, nobody watched it.
Yeah.
But people were like making memes, like doing the It's Morbin time thing.
Yeah.
And like 3 months later, Sony was like, oh, it's actually more popular than we thought.
And they re-release it and nobody goes and sees it again.
Honestly, if Kraven the Hunter, because I've already seen memes where it's like I'm Kraven to hunt you.
It would be hilarious if they did a re-release on this movie. It's so god awful.
Yeah.
It's so god awful. I mean, there are things that are not bad about it, and we've mentioned some of them, but there's not enough good about it to make it worth watching. Like, don't spend your money on it. Wait for it to come out on Sony's app called Crackle and watch it for free on Crackle, because I wouldn't even pay a subscription.
No,
I wouldn't pay for it on Netflix.
I do
it's
think
that bad.
It will probably end up on Disney Plus at some point just because of the Sony deal. But I will still probably never see it.
I don't see myself watching it again.
I don't either. It's just so it's funny though. I still think, because me and Connor were talking in the car afterward, and we were like, I actually think Venom: The Last Dance was better. Like, well, he was like, it was better. For me, I think they're on the same level of bad, but for different reasons. So for Venom: The Last Dance, right? At least Venom 1 and 2 are action packed and actually kind of like somewhat fun to watch.
I can only make spears with my hands.
Okay. Barring that you don't understand the Venom character. Hey,
Venom, my friend over there can make tanks and cannons with his hands, but I can only make spears.
Okay, that's not even what happens. Oh my God.
That guy made a nuclear bomb with his hands, but I can only make spears.
No, Venom couldn't make anything and Riot could. And all the symbiotes have different powers. That's just that is canon. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
We're all made of the same goo, but we can't do the same
They
thing.
are, but they're not. It's a lot to explain. I don't want to get into it because we're not talking about Venom. But Venom: The Last Dance, its issue is that where the first two movies are action packed and there's constantly stuff progressing the plot, even if it's not your favorite thing to watch. Venom: The Last Dance, about not even halfway through the movie, the first few minutes are pretty good. And then for like 40 minutes, they're on a road trip and you're just watching these druggies basically going to Area 51. trying to see the aliens at Area 51 before they shut it down. And then the back half of the movie is where the rest of the action is. And that's it. Noel doesn't appear. You see them fight Noel's basically bodyguards, which is what it is. I mean, they basically fight his bodyguards, and then they win. They beat Noel's guards, but all the symbiotes die.
Thanks for the spoiler. I was going to watch that this weekend.
You were?
No, God, no. Are you stupid?
No. Well, you sounded serious. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
But like,
no,
I was like, you are? Why?
I'm not wasting anything on that awful movie.
Anyway, all the symbiotes die at the end, except for one. And
Venom?
Phage. Not Venom. Venom dies.
Oh, Venom dies.
Well,
but there's still that little bit of goo of him in the MCU.
That may get disregarded as canon. May. We don't know yet. And Noel, I'm confused because I know I was hearing stuff about Noel being possibly the main villain of Spider-Man 4, and this was to set that up. But why? Like, I don't know. He didn't do anything. And it was actually a waste of a good actor. What's his name? Who plays Gollum and Alfred Pennyworth in the Batman? I'm trying to think. He also played the guy who stole vibranium in Wakanda from in Age of Ultron and Black Panther. I keep
Claw.
Yeah, I can't remember I'm trying to remember the actor's name, but it's not coming to me. But either way, good actor. He's the guy who plays Noel. He's got like 5 lines.
Yeah.
That's such a waste of a good actor. Like, I don't even know.
I mean, unless he's going to be in a sequel, which Sony seems to sequel bait everything anymore, even if they plan to shut down the whole universe, which maybe this signals that they'll sell back all the characters to Marvel, which is what needs to happen.
I do think that needs to happen. I don't think they will. I think
nevertheless, Kraven had its own Sinister Six in it, basically. And
yeah,
they underutilized the whole team.
You know what? What's funny? I was looking at the list. There's like 5 movies that got canceled.
Yeah.
Before and after.
Well, if they're going to make them like that, they should.
El Muerte? Or Muerto? Was it Muerto? I think it was Muerto. I don't know because he's a one-time appearance character in the Marvel Comics.
I don't know why you do a whole movie for him. Then he should be a character.
He's basically
in somebody else's movie.
a wrestler that fights Spider-Man.
Again.
In one issue. And not the first wrestler he ever fought as a kid. I mean, just a random wrestler from when Spider-Man was.
He should be a character in someone else's movie.
Silver and Black got canceled. There was another Silver Sable project that I think she was supposed to appear in like 2 movies, and they both got canceled. Sinister Six got canceled. Thank God.
Kraven, you killed them all.
I'm so glad Sinister Six is canceled because how would that even work?
6 villains who take over the world because there's no Spider-Man to stop you.
You mean Across the Spider-Verse?
Sure.
I mean, the ending. That's what happens. He travels to a universe with no Spider-Man, and Prowler and all the other characters have taken over New York City.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that.
So there was a leaked graphic not graphic, a leaked animatic from the second film that got cut and might be used in the third one, where they have Prowler's actually not the bad guy. I said that, but he's not. Prowler is more like an anti-hero. He goes around and steals things. He's more like a Robin Hood figure. And it's not Prowler, it's Miles as Prowler.
Yeah.
But he's not but he like actually uses equipment similar to how Spider-Man web swings. He also moves around like Spider-Man, sort of, to a degree, obviously without powers. So he's basically Spider-Man without being Spider-Man.
Okay.
But he steals.
But he's also a villain or a bad guy.
He's not really a bad guy. He's just he steals.
Steals from the rich to feed the poor.
I wouldn't say that. It's more like stealing from criminals to give to good people.
Exactly what I said.
Well, I guess the criminals have taken over New York City. So yes, he's stealing from the rich, evil people and giving to the good, poor people. Yes.
Okay, it works.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting setup, and if that's what they're going with in 3, then I'm excited to see what that plays out.
Okay, well, I'm excited to never have to worry about another Sony movie. We are looking forward to Captain America: Brave New World.
Hold up, we still have one more Sony movie.
What Sony movie?
Edge of or Beyond the Spider-Verse?
Okay, I'm talking about live
still-
action.
Oh yeah,
The-
yeah.
We've acknowledged that the cartoons were done right and the live action's been done wrong. And so I'm
Like
glad
DC.
to have no more. Yes, it's exactly like DC. It's like Marvel are the only people who get it. And Sony and Warner Brothers
Ooh.
just don't get it.
I finally watched that interview, by the way, before we move on. I've watched that interview with Stephen Amell and that one guy where he's like, yeah, I was pissed off. I kind of misread this. I thought he was saying he was pissed off at John Cena, but no, he wasn't. He was pissed off at James Gunn, the way he wrote that line about him being, whatever.
Yeah, he was mad at the line.
He's mad at the line. And I'm watching it and I'm like, why was he kind of throwing a fit about that again? And then I watched the whole thing and I found I was like, oh, that makes, because he was going off. The whole reason he was upset in the first place was like, we were the DC universe. Like we did it. Like for once did a successful DC universe in a good way. And then
people
you just
liked us.
And yeah, and people liked us. Like even if we didn't do great all the time, people still liked us. We were the good DC.
And you crapped on us.
And then you came in and you were just like, fuck you. Like, yeah, that's, I get it. Yeah, that sucks. Like, why would that really? Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
like-
Like we propped all of you up because there was nothing good DC coming out except the Arrowverse.
When the Flash show got announced, people thought for real that the Flash movie that got announced afterward was going to be a tie-in.
a tie-in with Grant Gustin playing the Flash, and
Yeah.
people were actually excited about it. And then it turned out to be Ezra Miller, and people were like, "I don't want to watch this anymore."
Right. So like, why would you? Yeah. So I get it. I get it now. Like that
Yeah,
was a big middle
he
finger.
crapped all over him. It
So
was terrible.
I still love James Gunn, but dude, why? Like that wasn't
there was
fair.
no purpose for it
there was
whatsoever.
No purpose for it at all.
That
I
being
agree.
said, we do have Captain America: Brave New World coming. They say February 14th. We go to opening day the day before, so February 13th we will be watching Captain America: Brave New World.
What's your current thoughts?
I'm curious.
I've already seen a leaked Funko Pop of the leader, and
I'm curious. I'm gonna hold my thoughts on it for now.
I'm hoping that the movie the movie version looks different, because right now it's just looking like a human-sized green dude, which he technically is. But he also has a brain that's like this big.
Yeah, we'll see what they do.
That's
with
not
it.
what the Funko Pop looked like, though. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping they do.
Funko Pops also have to balance so that they can stand up.
Yeah. So I'm
Like the
hoping.
ones on
I'm
the
hoping
table.
it's just like them having to do. Sorry. That was work. Sorry. Them having to do a specific design thing for Funko versus what Marvel's doing. So I hope Marvel is actually nailing it. But like in the trailer, you do see him a couple times. Like he's got binoculars in one scene. He's got like, it looks like he has a normal sized head, but maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe it was
Well, we also know that a lot of things that you see in the trailers are
Edited.
put there to confuse or throw you off a little bit. So we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm going to reserve judgment on it for now.
Yeah.
I am interested in what Marvel's going to do going forward. I think they had so much success in the past, and the most recent stuff has not been quite as well put together. But I'm interested in seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
We also have Northwest Arkansas Comic Con coming January 11th and 12th. I think we're both planning on being there.
Yes.
So that'll be exciting. And
What else? Is Superman this year or next year?
it's this coming year. It's
Okay.
coming.
And Fantastic Four.
Both.
Oh man, I wish
both
they would
are
do,
summer releases. So those will be exciting to watch as well.
I'm hoping for trailers soon. I know they're coming out in like June or July, but I need
Probably
trailers.
get Super Bowl trailers, honestly.
True.
Super Bowl trailers would be in February.
True. That's how they did Deadpool and Wolverine.
So
So I'm hoping to see them. I like the idea of the two movies. This movie was not it.
Yeah.
This was disappointing.
it definitely was not. Well,
Especially since I felt like, and I guess maybe I shouldn't have, but like we were talking about it when the prison sequence. I was like, and then the interview with the guy, I was kind of like, after hearing all that, I was like, this would be nice if it really was just Sony's Logan.
yeah, we said that.
I'm like,
And then it turned out to
and
be
then it wasn't.
Sony's follow up to Madam Web.
Yeah.
Exactly what you get from Sony. So,
Yeah. I guess that's on me a little bit.
well, I told you I had hope too. So, shame on Sony for giving me hope and breaking my heart. Now, with that said, hope you guys have enjoyed this review of Kraven the Hunter. Obviously not the most memorable movie ever. Kraven the Hunter. We did not enjoy watching it, but we do enjoy talking about it. And we hope to do a whole lot more of these in the near future. But for today, we are going to say goodbye. If you like what you heard, like, share, subscribe, and keep listening to our content, and we'll keep putting it out.
Our next movie review is Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
You're doing that one by yourself.
No, I might actually bring Connor into the studio.
Great, bring Connor in.
Because he's coming with me.
I'm not wasting my time on that movie.
It's gonna be good. I can't believe you won't.
You know what happens when you keep talking at the Oscars and they want you to stop talking? Go ahead, say something else. I dare you.
Have a good night, everybody.